What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and today we have an extremely special guest. This has been such a long time coming, and shout out to our mutual friend Liz Newsome for really putting the vibe out in the air, putting the energy out in the air, saying you two need to collaborate, and we have her here tonight as my guest. This lady is quite literally the very first friend I ever made in my entire life. This is a friendship going on damn near almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we go back all the way to the days of First Baptist Daycare. It's been that long. And we're going to get into all of the nuts and bolts and what have you. So without further ado, we have the great Liz Rennie on the Since We Last Spoke podcast with us. Liz, how are things?
Oh man, good now. It's so good to see you, bud.
You too. Again, like I said before we recorded, I've been thinking about recording this episode all day long. So let's take it all the way back to the Genesis.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's start. You know what? Let's start with First Baptist Daycare.
Okay.
So
you go.
Okay. So yeah, that's where I first met my friend Liz, and I don't even, man, do you even remember how we first met? Was it the blanket incident?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of breakup here, but yes. So I don't remember the first time we ever like saw each other meeting, but I do remember that you were things I loved about you. You always had a voice for radio. Like you had this kind of raspy voice and it had a little squeak to it sometimes. And we would just sit and talk and giggle for hours. And honestly, I was terrified of the Baptist church daycare. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Did you like going?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was scared because of Miss Geraldine. Miss Geraldine terrified me. Remember Miss Geraldine?
I do.
Okay. So Miss Geraldine, she kept that ruler on her, and she would pop you if you got out of line for anything, like a quick rap on the wrist or top of your hand. And I was really scared of her. And one of the stories of the beginning of our friendship that I think's been told so many times, and people find it to be just cute, but we'll see how it's taken. But we'd have nap time, and you were such a good friend. And let me go back. Let's set the stage. I was a very rotund child. I was big boned. I was healthy. I never turned down meals. And you always wanted to make sure that I was tucked in for nap time, and we would always have our mats next to each other. And but those tiny little blankets, that tiny little mat, it was like trying to cover a Christmas ham with a cocktail napkin. I mean, you had your work cut out for you. And so one day we're trying to go to sleep, and we're probably giggling, and then you're like, oh, your blanket's not on, so you tucked it around. And Miss Geraldine fussed at you and told you to lie down, go to bed, go to sleep. And you would tuck me in again and disobeyed her. And she said, Danny, come up here. And she got that ruler out and she was ready to go. She was going to spank you for not listening. And I threw the cover off and stood up and said, you can't spank Danny. And just started chanting, you can't spank Danny. And it just kind of came to be one of our catchphrases. Can't spank Danny.
Yes.
Don't try.
Oh man, I remember that like it happened yesterday.
Oh gosh.
Oh goodness.
And remember the ketchup? Like you always got ketchup, and it would that hooting noise, and we would get so tickled. And you were like my saving grace, and a few other friends at First Baptist Daycare, because I wanted to stay at home curled up. I did not want to go.
And you speaking of ketchup, one of the other things that is etched in my memory from First Baptist Daycare was when we would have lunch, and oftentimes they would serve rice and gravy, but I would always ask for no gravy, and instead of gravy, I would always put ketchup on my rice. And I remember all the kids looking at me and pointing like, "Ew, you're weird." But
And that was great.
yeah, I think my Papa, he's the one that really he indoctrinated me with the Heinz ketchup, and
Mhm.
I hadn't looked back since.
No, but any other ketchup is inferior. My husband hails from Pittsburgh, and
Oh, there
has
you
very
go.
strong feelings about your brand of ketchup.
Yeah, I 100% get it. I remember Mom had Hunts in the cabinet one time, and I'm like, "The hell is this?" I mean,
No,
I didn't say that to her, but
no.
internally, that's what I was saying. I'm like, "This ain't Heinz. I don't want this."
I mean, you might as well use Miracle Whip. I mean,
Pretty much,
yeah.
pretty much. And I was looking back at our the student picture. Well, not student, but like the daycare picture when we were all sitting on the steps. And I was looking at it and I'm like, man, that's like an all-star cast right there. I didn't realize until way later in life how many Berkeley alumni were sitting on those steps with us. It's
Mhm.
That was quite the lineup.
You know, class of 98, I would like to go on record saying I think might have been the best class ever. You know, Mama tells me my due date was in October and the cutoff to be, you know, for the classes was November 1st. And I was due like mid-October. And I think I just held on in there because I knew deep in my soul I wanted to be in the class of 98. So I
It was,
wasn't born until like November 21st. Because I really we had a great class. I mean, just I don't I don't know what that magic sauce was that just everybody kind of rooted for each other. I think
mhm.
it does if you keep in touch. And I don't know how common that is, but I'm really thankful for it.
You and me both. Um, let's see. After First Baptist Daycare, it broke my heart knowing that after our daycare, the daycare era was over, and we ended up going to separate elementary schools. And Liz, I kid you not, that tore me up.
Yes. Say
Like
that was
you were Berkeley Elementary, and I was at Whitesville Elementary, and I'm like, when am I ever going? I'm not going to get to see Liz ever again.
but we saw because like I feel like we saw each other around town and then like I don't remember. I mean, we'd see each other like at restaurants and stuff. And then your mama knew my grandmama,
Hmm.
right? And like we would see each other sometimes then, but it was not enough. It was not
Yeah.
like day to day how we used to be.
I vividly remember this was right around the time Burger King had first opened, and me and my parents pulled up to Burger King. And as soon as we pulled up, excuse me, I saw you playing on the playground. I was like, oh my, like I jumped. I mean, like I shot out of that truck like a bullet. I tried to climb the fence instead of going inside and going through the actual playground entrance. And Mom was like, Danny, what the hell are you doing? And then she saw you. She was like, oh, hold on,
Yeah.
let's go, let's find the other way to go through. Let's not climb the fence. And oh my God, that made my whole day.
Yes.
And I just want to say thank you for that because it had been far too long since the last time I saw you. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget that memory.
Yeah. And even like as adults, we happen to run into each other around Charleston, North Charleston, you know, it's
Yeah,
always like such a pleasure. I mean, it's just good.
it really is. Really is. Even when your mom's in tow, that makes it even better. I was like, oh man, like
Oh, my
this is
mama
my entire childhood right here.
loves Yeah. Your
So
mom and them, they doing all right?
yeah, they're all good. I talk to them, gosh, pretty much every day. And they normally go walking and I pass them on the way to work.
That's great.
Yeah. And dad, he's usually out doing yard work and stuff. He's enjoying the retired life.
Good, good. You planting anything?
Yeah, actually, I planted some stuff in my flower bed. I want to say about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's slowly starting to see results. It's probably about I want to say it's probably about 2 or 3 inches high right now.
Okay.
So it's still going to be a minute. And I just planted some sunflowers this past Saturday. So
Yeah, I got some tomatoes in the ground and a little bit of lettuce and stuff, but my kids it's in the backyard and they're like basketballs and volleyballs keep hitting it, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. It has some challenges.
yeah. And then after the elementary school days were over, then we actually got to integrate. Whitesville and Berkeley got to integrate again at the good old RA Ready Intermediate School. Do you have any standout memories from RA Ready?
Yeah. I remember recess every day we would go out and pick teams, and usually Joey Jenkins and Corey Myers were the captains.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been reflecting a lot this last year about women's sports and women's basketball and everything that's been going on with that. And I'm always, I think we had a whole little army of accidental feminists. Like y'all, you, Curtis Smith, Joey, Kenyon Doyle, Lane Chaplin, Ryan Haynes, John Pride, Micah Griggs, Doug, Irby, like JJ, like y'all are a group of boys playing your games, like football, basketball, a lot of football, and like some of us girls wanted to join in, and y'all could have said no. I mean, but y'all didn't. Y'all said, not only can y'all play, we're also not going to take it easy on you. Like if you're going to play, you're going to play. And I really feel like that helped us grow as athletes and friends. And I just don't know how common that was. And I mean, I guess obviously y'all's mamas and sisters raised you right and told you, like, let the girls in, let them play.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting out there. I had Miss Linville, now Miss Oliver, for 4th grade, and Miss Edwards for 5th. But and then I remember the Warm Fuzzies, like that was elementary school and maybe a little bit of 4th grade.
Y'all did Warm Fuzzies too?
Yes.
The Warm Fuzzies it was Warm Fuzzies and Cold Pricklies? Or did y'all have?
Yes.
Yeah, we had it at Whitesville
a
too.
cotton ball. That was like
Yes.
that was the 80s version of like mental health. Like, you don't feel good, let's stick a colored cotton ball on your shoulder with some little feet and googly eyes. You're
Yep.
fine. Get over
Yes.
it. Yeah.
And it was simple, but it was so effective.
Yeah.
Like I remember my guidance counselor, her name was Miss Piggott, and she same exact thing. Warm fuzzies if you're feeling good, cold pricklies if you're feeling bad. And it was the little cotton ball with the taped on googly eyes.
Yep.
Man, that's wild. Man, you really took me back with the warm fuzzies. So sorry to get on a tangent, but continue with the Are You Ready?
We love you, Ready Intermediate. Yes, we do. Teachers are so kind, principals so true. I'm not gonna sing it, but that was, we had a theme song. I remember in choir, Miss Edens took us up to Myrtle Beach, and we would like all have to wear red shirts and sing.
Really?
And yeah. Those are like some standout. Danny, your memory is so much better than mine, so you're gonna have to help me limp along this memory lane. But
yeah, I remember we used to have the big kickball tournament.
Yes.
The big kickball tournament.
That big field behind Alex's.
Yep. Oh my God, it was Alex's.
Yeah.
Man, there was so many times I was tempted to cut class.
Just walk over
to go to Alex's to get some breakfast, but Myron Foxworth is my mom, and that would not fly. But I remember the kickball tournaments. I was in Mr. Musha's class, and our class was in the trailer, and I remember always playing wiffle ball behind the trailer during lunchtime. It was like me and who else? Trad Baggett and gosh, I'm trying to remember Greg Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were some fun times. And then after RA Ready, then we moved to Berkeley Middle School, and that's when I first became familiar with the legend of Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
People had so many stories about this principal, Mr. Barnes. And actually, I actually saw him maybe last year. Yeah, he came by the shop to get an estimate. I was like, what? And he still looks exactly the same.
Good. I'm glad he's doing well.
Yeah. But Berkeley Middle School.
I'll tell you a memory from Berkeley Middle School. When we were in 6th grade, Reagan Geiger brought her goat to school for show and tell.
What?
And I mean, it was Berkeley County in the
True.
early 90s, you know? So she wanted to show off her goat. And I guess her parents just dropped this off and left it with no plan to come pick it up. And she and I were in Mr. Howard's shop class together. You remember Mr. Howard?
Do I? When I call your name, please raise your compass.
And
to draw your hexahedrons and your tetrahedrons, you must use your T-square. I still say there's too much chatter. Mr. Howard was the best.
He was. And, you know, he wrote us a note. And I probably still have that note somewhere in a box that said, Reagan and Elizabeth to tend to goat. And he just gave us this note, and we had a goat on a rope, and we walked around outside the middle school all day long, all day. Like, did not attend another class, just, you know. And then to this day, Miss West's class, I still make that taco pie that she taught us how to make. And
oh man, Miss West.
And I was in a group with like Chris Dixon, Joey Jenkins, you know, and we were getting all of our ingredients together. And Miss West stood up on her chair and she says, "Children, wait, I forgot to cut the cheese." And we just fell out. That was classic.
It took me a second. I forgot to cut the cheese. Man, what a
it was
time.
hard for us to pull it together to get our taco pie in the oven on time in a timely manner. But we learned a lot in home ec. I learned so much in those classes. I kind of wish we were still doing the home ec classes.
Yeah, me too. I learned how to cook rice in her class.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, there really is a science to it. And I just remember her stressing the four food groups, and you got to get your cheese and your meat.
That's two of the groups.
Yep, cheese and meat. And I remember just learning how to cook rice, and I remember making brownies in her class, and yeah, that didn't go so well. I burned the hell out of those brownies.
Yes, well, I feel like student wise, I mean, she was a fabulous cook and probably still a state, but like we were probably batting what 15% by getting that stuff right. But boy, we ate it, or I ate it. See, rotund child.
I remember. I mean, I think I ate half the pot of rice by myself. She had some sticks of butter in the refrigerator. I was like, "Miss West, can we use the butter?" She was like, "Yeah, take the whole stick." I'm like, "Okay." And yeah, me and Greg Whiteley, we had buttery rice for the remainder of the period, and that was a great day.
Yep.
Man, who were some of your favorite teachers at Berkeley Middle?
Oh, Berkeley Middle, Miss Baker. Oh, I love Miss Baker. And I had her all 3 years because I had her for ACE, and I love Coach Thomas for science. And he used to let Sarah and me go out with this. We were working on a project, and we would take the telescope outside in the middle of the day. I think we were working on sunspots or something. But again, we'd be out there just, I don't know what all we were doing.
I was in that class with y'all. I do remember Coach Thomas.
Yes, that was a good one. Gosh, I had a lot. Miss Mendel, I loved Miss Mendel. I loved all. I mean, I really didn't have any teachers that I was like, "Oh, I can't stand this class. I can't wait to get out of here."
Yeah.
I enjoyed school. It was a 180 from First Baptist. Like, you know, by the time that was rolling around, I didn't mind going. But it was fun not to be there too.
Yeah. So. I think my favorite teacher, my absolute favorite teacher from Berkeley Middle School was Miss Milligan. She was my homeroom and my English teacher.
Yes.
And I enjoyed her because if you got her excited or if you got her mad, even though she taught English, that Geechee was coming out of her. I vividly remember when College of Charleston made it to the NCAA tournament in '94, and we got to watch it in class, and Marion Busby was at the free throw line. You know, he had some sizable chompers, and while we were playing, Miss Milligan was watching the game and she was grading papers, and she looked up and she saw Marion Busby, and that gold tooth, and she said, "Boy, they got some big teeth in it." I was like, "That's my teacher. I love her."
Yes. Oh, also Miss Butler. I was terrible at science, but she like made it fun and I could understand what was going on. That was, I think, 6th grade. But I saw Miss Milligan at Devorah Simmons Brown's wedding. That's the last time
Really?
it was so good to see her.
I hadn't
Yeah.
seen her since middle school. I know she would run into my mom every now and then, but yeah, oh gosh, I hadn't seen her in forever. And
I hope she's doing well too.
me
She is.
too. Me too. She was one of my absolute favorites. And gosh, who else was I'm trying to think of some other teachers from Berkeley Middle School. Mr. Rollerson was my art teacher.
Mhm.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of who else. Who was the you remember who the librarian was?
In middle school, I remember Brister's mama was our
She sure
librarian
she
at
sure
RA Red.
was. Already ready. Oh my gosh. And she had that book Cool Chicken.
Yes. Yeah.
She
I think
sure as hell was the librarian. Yeah.
and I'm trying to think. Do we have more than one? I feel like
Well,
we might have.
more than one librarian.
I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, I don't
High
know.
school was Miss Harrop and Miss Brevard,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm drawing a blank.
It's
I got
okay.
24 years worth of stuff in here I got to sit through to get to that.
And then
That's tough.
we did have the 8th grade prom. I do remember going to that.
That was a good time.
Yeah, and I got my suit from I got my 3-piece suit from Barron's.
Yep.
When I don't know if Mr. Cohen is still doing the
He's still
tailoring
there.
for the suits. And he is?
Yeah, he's still there. That was my daddy's first job, was working at Barron's department store.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I was looking at old pictures of that of my my outfit. It was like purple and paisley and had like the gray sport jacket. You couldn't tell me nothing. And my dad had just got he had just bought a Corvette that he had restored and put a paint job on it. And he took me to the dance in the Corvette. Oh my
Oh my
God. And
God.
just seeing everybody's heads turn, they're like, wow, look at that car. I felt like the greatest man alive at that moment. That was and I also learned a crash course lesson in consent at that dance. Because I think it was a Boyz II Men song. It was a slow jam. And then I was dancing with Darlethea Holland, and I reached down and grabbed her ass, and like immediately she slapped the shit out of me.
Way to go.
Yeah. She was like, "Don't you ever do that again." I was like, and I walked away. I had to go to the bathroom to lick my wounds. I was like, whoo, lesson learned. All right, Danny, you gotta, yeah. I'm like, all right, Danny, you gotta chill out. I learned my consent lesson very early. So
That's
shout
good.
out to Darlethea Holland.
I hope she's doing well too.
I hope so too, wherever she
Still
is.
teaching lessons.
So now let's go to Berkeley High School. So what were some of your favorite memories from Berkeley High?
Oh man. We had a really good time. We had a good class. I really enjoyed my English classes all through Berkeley. I love Mr. Dell's class with, what was that? Social studies, I guess.
It was American government and economics.
Do you remember, you and I were in that class together?
We were. Yes.
Emily Cool was in there.
Yes.
You remember
Tricky Dick? Yes.
We set the stage. You tell this story.
I'm trying. Oh, I can't remember the exact details.
Draw. Win, lose, or draw. And the clue was the Washington Monument. And so somebody got up and drew the Washington Monument, and Emily Cool yells out, Tricky Dick.
And I remember, yep. And I remember Miss Riddell, she couldn't hold in her laugh. She had to get up and leave out the class. Because I think we were just talking about Richard Nixon. It was either earlier that class period or the day before. And Emily kept that theme going. And I always enjoyed the cut of her jib because
Yeah,
had a real sharp wit to her.
for sure.
God, that was one of my favorite classes ever. I
Mm.
remember when we did the stock market game.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, and for me that was a crash course in how fickle the stock market can be because I remember, if memory serves me correct, I think you could pick up to either two or three stocks and you had like $100,000 that you could spend.
Mhm.
And the group that I was in, I can't even remember. I think it was me, Joey Ori. Um, you remember that exchange student, Manuel Cornejo?
Yeah, yeah.
He was in the group, and there was one other person, and we all put the $100,000 stock in on Fruit of the Loom, which I don't even think is a stock anymore. And I remember every Wednesday, she would post the results for uh for the stock market game because I think every school in South Carolina, like middle school and high school, played it. And by the end of week one, my group was literally the number one group in the state. And then by week four, we weren't even in the top 100.
Uh,
I was like, bro, what in the hell is going on? But by the end of the 9 weeks, I think we finished third in the state amongst high schools and fifth overall. And by
y'all,
finishing in the and by
y'all went
finishing
on
in
a
the
trip.
yeah, we got to
I-
we had a celebratory banquet up in Columbia. It was at USC at the Darla School of Business,
Oh.
and the food was delicious. That food was so good. I even took a to-go plate and ate it on the school bus ride back home
Don't
or
mind
back
us.
to
We're
the
just heading
school.
back to Monk's Corner.
Yes, that was awesome. Golly, and
Oh, I love type. I learned like one of the greatest skills was typing with Miss Dixon.
mm-hmm,
That was, I mean, I definitely use that every day.
yeah.
Thank you. Uh, um, who else? I had Coach Stone for
Oh my
basketball.
God, that
Uh,
guy. You talk about a cold piece of work. I remember trying my hand at football, and he was our assistant coach on the B team, and he was telling us about he's stressing the importance of a pregame meal. But he gets to go and he does his hand like this. He's like, don't fill your stomach up with all that junk and shit. Go get you a Nabs or soda or something.
that's 3 and 4 of the food groups, right?
Yep, cheese,
Meat.
meat, Nabs, and
Yeah.
soda. That might be the name of this. That might be the name of this episode.
Hey.
Oh man, Coach Stone. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, yeah. So talk. What was Coach Stone like as you were a player on the Berkeley women's girls basketball team, and he was the head coach. So what was
Yeah.
that like dealing with him?
Well, I mean, we all bonded together as a team, and he had us in good shape. He ran us into the ground, and but we were in good shape. Hat tip to that. And oh, I played with Yusha Gilmore, who I am just like honored that I saw her podcast with you. To even be in the same universe with Yusha. I mean, she is like my hometown hero.
Yes.
I can remember playing on the court with her, and like she could just do so much with the basketball that I would just kind of freeze up just watching her, and then I'd be like, oh shit, like I guess I need to hustle back on defense now. But like I get caught up in just watching the magic of her on the court,
Yeah.
and she made it so much fun. Like that whole group of girls, like LaRonda Manigault, Cherie,
Oh my God, you
um,
bringing up some names.
yeah, like Jennifer McCall, like they were all like good bit older. I mean, I think they were seniors when we were like eighth, ninth grade, and
Yeah.
they, brought us in and helped us look good. They supposed to run the box and one, put the box on Yusha, the one on the rest of us, and still not be able to stop her. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, she was amazing. And played tennis with a great group of folks. Played soccer a couple seasons. I mean, but we in Berkeley, like we just didn't know the rules of soccer. Like I remember showing up and being like, how many players are on the field at once? Like, how's this go? Played softball a couple seasons. Just yeah, and then student government, just all kinds of extracurricular stuff. That was season like we were hunting and fishing all the time too, like
Hmm.
riding our bikes, just it was a pretty golden upbringing, you know,
Yeah.
for the 90s in Moncks Corner, I guess.
And speaking of basketball, I remember you had your shining moment at the pep rally when you hit that half court and you hit that hook shot from half court.
You know what I remember from that? I just remember looking up in the stands, and you remember Shamaka Aiken?
Yeah.
So he wasn't really into sports or anything, but just the joy that spread over his face, and he jumped up and his hands went up in the air, and I just couldn't believe that it went in. And we beat the boys because it was like me and Yusha against, I think, Willis High and RJ Haynes maybe. And so, you know, it was one of those make the shots in a certain amount of time kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll
And the
never
girls
forget
and
that.
boys, people went
Oh my God. That whole gym just went ape shit when you hit that half court shot. That's one of the biggest memories that's stuck in is etched in the back of my brain from high school. And God, couldn't be high school. We couldn't be have high school talking, not talk about the school lunch.
Yeah. Yes. So middle school, I was really into the salad bar. Remember they had that little baby salad bar?
Let's talk about it. Yes.
I think that's why I don't get sick much now, because my immunity is so strong. Because there'd be like people too short for that glass, so they would just bend under it, and you know, oh gosh. But I did use the glass shield, and they had a good runny ranch on that.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Oh my God. That was a game changer.
Yes. And then high school, I loved the fried okra. I would do a whole mound of fried okra.
I don't remember the fried okra.
You had to go to main cafeteria. You couldn't go to annex usually.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah. But if that was on the menu, I was going to get a full plate. That was usually during Salisbury Steak Day with the mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yes.
Which I also, that's all right, but just give me a whole plate of okra, please.
That's the most Moncks Corner thing ever said on this podcast. I love it. I remember, I want to say it was my junior year. They started serving chicken parmesan on Fridays. And I remember I used to be I was in keyboarding class. It was it was Miss Lee. She was my teacher.
Yeah.
And Nathan Gordon was in the ROTC room. And whenever the bell rang, me and him, basically, it was like Tyson Gay and Usain Bolt heading straight to the cafeteria to get our hands on that chicken parmesan. It was that damn good. Oh my goodness.
Now I'm kind of wishing I had branched out a little bit.
Yeah, they served that in the main cafeteria as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember that. And then once my senior year came around, I was taking classes at Oakley my junior year, and then my senior year they had shut the school down, and then they just put the different vocations at different schools in the county. So my last class of the day, I was taking computer aided drafting, and so after my second period, once the lunch bell rang, I'd have to get in my car and drive all the way to Goose Creek High to take my last class. So I had carte blanche to go wherever I wanted. So every day I was going to McDonald's and getting the Mighty Wings and taking them to class with me.
You know, circling back, Yusha Gilmore taught me how to drive stick in the McDonald's parking lot.
Oh, that's right. She had that blue that 280Z.
Yes, and her advice was, if you can't find them, grind them, and then pop the trunk, because whenever they would close, they were going to throw all that food out anyway, and so sometimes you just roll through there and get some extra vittles in the trunk.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had eaten healthy, like how much better we would have been at sports, probably. You know, like if we had. But I mean, we made it. We're fine.
Yeah, I was a Fiestada aficionado myself. Oh, the Fiestada was great. I would just, and well, God rest his soul, I'd use the Hamilton Martin method where he would take the fries and sprinkle them in the middle and then fold the Fiestada like a taco. Oh my God. That was living.
Yes. Or Hamilton in that Ford Tempo would
Yeah.
pull up. We're going to the movies, and then we start counting out our change.
Yep.
Can we make it to the dollar movie on a Friday?
Now I remember he had that front license tag that had handwritten, "I'm cooler than you."
And he
But
was probably.
yeah, and you talking about stick shifts, it made me think of my trial by fire stick shift lesson because mom had just gotten a Chevy Astro van, and I used to drive that to school because she had her own company car. And so the Astro van broke down, and my parents were already talking about she had an old Nissan 200SX in the backyard that was just collecting dust. And they were thinking about getting that one for me. And they had just took it to the mechanic just to bring it back to life. And the bus was already gone. The Astro van was broken down. So I had to drive. I had never drove stick a day in my life. So I basically had to drive that because mom was already going to work and dad was already at work. And so I had to learn how to drive stick from my house to Berkeley High School is probably like a 7 to 8 minute drive. It took me 56 minutes to get to school because I stalled out so much. That was embarrassing.
It's a miracle that you made it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a safe learning road.
No, it's not. And it was even worse whenever school was over and everybody was letting out, and bell rung, and I'm like, I gotta drive this shit back home. All right, well, here we go. And yeah, it took me another 50 something odd minutes to get back home. But I made it, and I eventually learned how to master driving standard shift.
Good
So
job.
yeah, who else? I mean, we had Stephen Furtick in our graduating class, and Charlemagne went to school with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen and I, we also went to church together coming up, and we were like 3 years old. He walked in the Sunday school class, and I was like, "Hey, I can write my whole name." He's like, "So can I." I was like, "All right, let's be friends." Like, and I was in his wedding with to Holly, and I'm so thankful that he married somebody from college, like who knew him before.
Yeah.
And she's a good person, and I think keeps him grounded, and she's good for him. So I'm glad for them.
Yeah, we were very best friends in elementary school. I remember we would spend weekends at each other's houses. I remember one weekend I spent at his house, and that Saturday morning we were up watching wrestling, and his mom gets up and she's like, "Hey, I'm going into town. I'm going to Hardee's. What do y'all want?" And me and Steven were like, "We'll get the sausage biscuit." And his brother Matthew said, "I want the Canadian bacon biscuit," and that sounded like the fanciest shit in the world. I'm like, Canadian bacon? You know what, Miss Furtick, I'll get a Canadian bacon biscuit instead. And when she came back, and I was like, oh, here we go. I'm like, it's Canadian biscuit, not in wrapping. I'm like, it's just ham.
Flat ham at that, not
Yeah,
even
I'm like, this ain't bacon. I feel lied to. Like this. Oh, but yeah, that was one of my favorite memories with me and him. Then after high school, you went off to Wofford. Was it Wofford? Was it still Wofford College or Wofford University?
It's still Wofford College as far as I know. I
Okay.
mean,
But what was it that drew you to Wofford?
well, basically I got a really nice package from them. It was something called the Bonner Scholars, and they picked 10 women, 10 men, and then but it was a service scholarship, so you had a commitment to do like 10 hours a week of service, and then they paid, I mean, they really covered you. And so I remember my mom, like we went up there senior year, I went up to visit, and we were sitting in the office, and my mama opened the letter, and she just got really emotional. I was like, I guess I'm going to Wofford, but I was in Spartanburg. I wasn't crazy about Spartanburg. I was pretty homesick that first year and so busy. Like I remember going to visit Jenny in Columbia. She was at USC, and I fell asleep in the elevator standing up. Like I was just exhausted. But my roommate Debbie Dees. You met Debbie, I think.
Yeah.
And she and I like really hit it off freshman year, and we lived together the whole time. And so my kids like call her Aunt Debbie and stuff. Like, so that was a great friendship that I made there, and I'm thankful for that. Yeah, I mean, I majored in English and philosophy. My dad said, "Oh, you're majoring in arguing and writing about arguing. Like, where's that going to get you?" And the natural path for that would have been law school, but I'm just the attention to detail that requires. It's like
Yeah.
seems like a lot of homework and a lot of stress, and that just wasn't my path. So, yeah.
What was your favorite class at Wofford?
I had some really great creative writing classes, and I one of the classes I ended up really enjoying that I wasn't that excited about signing up for was religions of the world. And like we ended up going to 3 different churches that were completely different, or synagogues, or mosques, or like just exploring other faiths. That was pretty cool.
Nice. And I know you briefly played basketball for Wofford as well.
I did,
What was
yeah.
that like?
Well, coming out of high school, I did some visits and had some options for like D3, D2, and I ended up walking on at Wofford because I loved the game so much. Like I loved the camaraderie, like the sportsmanship, that just the togetherness of the team. And so I ended up walking on and played that freshman year. And that freshman year, so I had that scholarship requirement for hours, and our coach got us up at like 4:30 every morning for practice. Now our games were at 7 p.m. So we were not good because, 4 a.m. we're ready to run to Greenville and back. But, come game time, we're exhausted. So I had full class load and working at the, what do you call it? Security office. That was like my work study thing I had to do in addition to those other things. And then, yeah, I mean, I was tired. But I was in really good shape. I mean, man, they had you in there, and the gym, the facilities were amazing. And met some great folks. But sophomore year, I was like, I'm not on scholarship for that. Like, I need to focus on what I'm here, why they're paying me to be here. And then I picked up a newspaper delivery route to have some spending money, because I had, and so yeah, it was a busy year. And then but we played, like, it was fun because we played at Clemson, we played at Carolina. We were that, give me school that they would, we were the second smallest D1 school in America at the time. And so they would call us up so they could whoop us good, and I think pay us a little bit to come do that.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
So after you graduated, you go into the Peace Corps, and you actually set up shop in Africa.
Yep.
So talk about that.
Oh gosh, that was probably the life-changing experience for me. The Peace Corps has got like 3 objectives. The national call is that they want you to come and help nations who want us to come. And right now we're about 60 nations have Peace Corps volunteers in them. And it was more before COVID, but so 60 nations have invited Peace Corps volunteers to come train their people in certain categories. And then the next thing is that we want to promote a good relationship, a good reputation for America abroad. And then the third part is that you want to explain the culture that you learn about to Americans, so that it just fosters understanding. And, but I'm coming out of college. I'm 22 years old with an English and philosophy degree. Hey guys, let me teach you some stuff, But I got there, and this was in Cape Verde. So, if you're listening to the weather reports and the hurricane starts, they'll say, the winds off of Cape Verde have started, and that's where hurricanes start. That's what we know about usually in South Carolina about it. But it's about 400 miles off the west coast of Senegal. It's a chain of islands, volcanic islands. The Cape Verdean people say their Genesis story is that God made the whole world, and then he wiped his hands together, and the crumbs that fell in the ocean created their nation.
Wow.
And but the history of it, I won't go into all of it because Lord, I could talk on about it and bore you to death. But so Portuguese slave traders went to, because Cape Verde was completely uninhabited until the 1400s. I mean, nothing on it, maybe a couple birds. So Portuguese slave traders went to West Africa and picked up these people, and then they started making an outpost on these islands. Well, some of the people they picked up escaped and went up into the hills, and they've started this country, but what happened with those slave ships that didn't, if you didn't get off there, you came to Sullivan's Island or Barbados, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was there, like the cadence and like everything about what is us in the Lowcountry, like the cadence, and there's the chiga is basically when you just stop and visit. Like if you see a person and you don't stop and visit, you are not well liked. And and I felt like a lot of the good stuff about what I love about the Lowcountry had a direct line through Cape Verde. And a crazy coincidence, a guy that was in my group that was stationed in Cape Verde was one village over. He was from Florence, South Carolina.
Wow. Small
Yeah,
world.
yeah, Taiwan, Montgomery. And they said the odds of that were incredibly small. And Taiwan was like, we might not be the quickest at picking up this language. We might not, check all the boxes on some stuff, but we can, obrigada our asses off. And basically, like we can be polite. Like we know this culture of like being from a place where your community is important. Like, and some people who are from other parts of America didn't like get into the groove of like, no, sometimes we just sit on the porch and we just drink tea or coffee and like you just pass some time. Like Taiwan and I were very comfortable doing that because that's how we were raised.
Yeah.
And so that really, I feel like, got my foot in the door in a way that I was very thankful for. And I had the most incredible assignment. I was in a little place called Calieta, which translates to a little hot place. And it was right on the ocean. This nation does not have snakes, sarcasm, or sharks. I mean, it has the widest variety of sharks, but there's this reef or a drop off about a mile out. So the sharks never come in close where you're swimming. I mean, it's so picturesque. And the people, are just, I can't say enough about what they have created out of just literally dirt in the middle of the ocean. And they've got a very well-run democratic government, that they have men, women, a lot of equality there. I was really fortunate that they assigned me to my boss there, Elsa. I mean, she was just like a matriarch of the whole community, and she just got everybody in line. And I was like, I'm just here to learn, because y'all kind of got it figured out. They have a higher literacy rate than Berkeley County.
Really?
So when I found that out, I was like, I'm just going to sit, y'all will tell me. And I'll tell you another cool thing. So when I was there, their jail was at the end, the jail cell was at the end of my street. And it's just a cinder block little building, one jail cell. And the deal was they left the jail open all the time. They never closed the gate. If you messed up and broke the law, it was a foot race, that you were trying to get to the jail, and everybody else was chasing you to beat your tail because you had broken the law. And the goal was for you to get in the jail and have the jailer shut the gate so that the rest of the folks didn't beat your tail. And it never happened, like, everybody was like, it's the most in the top 10 most peaceful nations in the world. And it just felt really ironic, like, hey, I'm here as an American in Peace Corps, like maybe
Yeah.
y'all should tell me how to, you know, but it really shifted my outlook in a lot of ways. And yeah, it was 2 years. I would encourage any young person or old person who's unsure about what they want to do in their next step, just look at Peace Corps. it's such a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Something I'm proud that we do as in this country, when it's done right.
100%. So when you left the Peace Corps and went back stateside, was there an adjustment period for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like it was very overwhelming, and cell phones were just becoming a thing. Like,
Yeah.
moments that I was coming in, like cell phones were starting to blow up. And just having to just we were just so the bountifulness of our options of eating anywhere in America, but like in Charleston, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, and you and I could talk food all day, but to come back and then like you just have so many options, it felt like a little much. But and I miss my friends back there too. That was hard.
So were you able to pick up the language?
I did. It's one of the easier languages to pick up
Okay.
because it's there's no conjugation, so it's really straightforward. It's a Gullah. It's a pidgin language of Portuguese and West African dialects. So like
Wow. Okay.
English, West African dialects make up Gullah. And again, the cadence, the rhythms, uh what's one of I'm trying to think of like something similar, like they'll say ave instead of kure, and little stuff like that, and you're
Yeah.
like, I know what that means. You don't have to explain that one. I got that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's always interesting new stuff to learn in a new language. It's such a good way to kind of keep your test your mind, see what you can get done.
That's true.
Portuguese is a tough language though, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. Now Cape Verdean Creole is much easier, and Portuguese is still officially the language, but they're actually working on legislation to make Creole the official language because they gained their independence from Portugal in 1975.
Okay.
And so they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. So how did you meet KC?
Justin Kadama, there's a blast from the past.
Wow.
I call him the Kevin Bacon of South Carolina.
6
There's
degrees.
always 7. Yes, you can always find a connection to Justin Kadama. So KC had gone to Clemson with him, and I'd run into Justin. I'd been back a couple of years. I was working downtown, and I said, hey, we're going out to see this band. You should come. And he was like, all right, maybe I'll see you up there. And he brought this buddy with him, this tall drink of water. And I saw him across the way. And yeah, we just hit it off, right? And we were at a bar, and I just walked up to him, and our first date, he said, like, this is it. And then I think people thought we were nuts because we were only engaged for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we've been married 18 years now. So
Holy cow, 18?
Yeah.
Jesus, where did the time go?
I know.
Man. So then you have Callum and Ruthie.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. So let's see. We got married, I guess, 2006. Callum was born in 2009. Ruthie was born in 2013. Yep.
And go ahead.
No, I was like, I'll talk a little bit about them, but we're at a phase now where like, social media and stuff, like I asked their permission before because Cal's 14, Ruthie's 10, and like I don't allow them on social media yet. But like that's kind of an imprint that's just going to be out there forever on,
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I told Cal I was coming to do this. He was like, well, just be yourself, but like, a little more interesting. I was like, to have a teenager in the house to keep you modest. I was like,
And it's great to me that he's such a diehard Knicks fan. I know
oh, you're
he's got to be on cloud nine right now.
playing tonight.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah. And we actually went and saw them over spring break when they played the Sacramento Kings, and they had that
Hmm.
big back. They were down like 20 something points and came back. Um, your friend of mine, Larry David, was there at that game,
Yes.
Celebrity Row with Susie. And
Oh, Susie Green.
and that we were, I mean, you had to get the binoculars, but he was down there. You could
Yeah.
see his bald head. And but that was so much fun. Man, that was a fun game. And they put on such a good show at the Garden. That's incredible.
That's still a bucket list item for me.
All right. Yes, for sure.
And lastly, before we get into the five questions, wanted to talk a little bit about your dad and what he went through towards the end, because I remember the last time seeing you was at his funeral.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was bittersweet, but it was at the same time it was still great to catch up with you and catch up with our other friends as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So dad, he was really into being a dad, and like always loved having all the friends over and stuff, and coached all the little league sports and all that. And I talked about it in the at his funeral. I talked about how even though he was going through Lewy body dementia with Parkinson's, and he had a hard time communicating sometimes, like just a few months before he died, we were visiting, and outside he takes a deep breath. He's like, smells like we're about 50 miles from Moncks Corner. And he at the time was over in West Ashley. And I was like, Dad, I looked at, he was like 43 miles away. I was like, that's pretty good. He loved Berkeley County. He loved Moncks Corner. He loved being from there. And he did like to travel and have new experiences too. But yeah, it was just like I think about him all the time. And now that he's passed, and it's not like the day-to-day struggle of like making sure all of his needs are cared for.
Yeah,
It's like refreshing kind of to go back and have those memories of a happier time, an easier time, like and those come more readily when you're not in the day-to-day caregiving,
that's a
part of
good
it.
point.
Yeah. And I don't know if you believe in this, but like the weekend, my dad did not like us to be idle. Like you needed to be up doing something, like cleaning fish, cutting the grass, doing something. And so I guess it was like the next weekend after his funeral, this woodpecker just starts pecking on our house. It's Saturday morning, like 7:30 a.m. I'm like, that has never happened. And so we're all up. Okay, we're up. Sunday morning, same thing. Never does it during the week. And I'm telling you, like out of the last couple weekends, I mean, just pretty consistently on weekends, there's a woodpecker pecking on my house. Get me up.
Wow. It's funny how the spirit manifests itself in these different forms.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into the some questions. Well, normally I start with the school lunch question
Oh, we
for my
already
five
looked at
question segment, but we covered that in great detail. But again, thanks to Newsome, she provided some questions that I'm going to pull up.
Oh
And
God.
let's see. She said is she one of the questions she asks is, what are three landmarks from the Charleston area that you missed that were here and are now gone?
That's a very hard question. That is a really really hard question. Well, probably the Huddle House on King Street. So we
Well,
used to,
I don't remember the Huddle House on King
then it
Street.
became a Basil. It was a Basil for a while. And then that that was a late night spot. And I don't have no, it might be I don't know what it is now. It's probably been 18 things since it was Basil. But golly, another landmark. There's some stuff that's gone. I'm not sad to see go, but I think that was a really, can we circle back to that one? I need to
Okay.
think about it for a while. I'm gonna have to talk to her. That's a very difficult question.
Okay. She also says, ask her if it's true that she had finally got a cool car for the first time in her life.
um, I do love my car more than I should love a material thing. That isn't and I thought it was cool. I had a 1985 GMC Jimmy.
I do
That was,
remember that.
yeah, and super unsafe, but and then I did have a Saturn
I
when I
remember that. Had the bike rack on the back.
yes, yeah. My grandparents helped me out when I was going off to school and I'm super thankful for that. And then yeah, I've had some pretty terrible cars since then. Like,
Yeah, because because when she asked the question, she said, Danny, she's always had the ugliest busted cars until now.
well, Newsome likes to go on a road trip, and so she does get particular on what car we take. And so I'm glad that this car now is meeting her standards.
And she also asks, what's the weirdest thing that she's ever seen? What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in the woods?
Ooh, I've seen deer mate. I've seen deer fight. Um I've seen a king snake eating a rattlesnake.
What?
Yeah, man. Like
Wow.
my favorite thing is just to walk in the woods. Like that is my number one.
She also says, can you ask her about the ghost in her mountain house?
I'm gonna sound like a crazy person on this
Hey,
one.
let's get crazy.
All right. Well, now coming in, I didn't necessarily have a strong opinion one way or the other. I knew that I feel like there are spirits that, there are other planes other than one that we can just see right in front of us, right? And how much interaction you want to have with that other plane might be up to you, or it might not be up to you sometimes. So anyway, there is something going on up in Saluda, and my husband was up there one time and came out, and there were a coffee mug balanced on its handle and just sitting there. One time I came out the shower, there were hats lined up on the floor. A wall clock has flown off of the wall. And now this is stuff that other people have witnessed too. This is not just like we were there, and we rented out, and we've had people write to us, excuse us, you did not tell us this is extremely haunted. you know, we did sage it, and we had a good friend go up and sage it, and it's been a lot better since. I feel like we're at, they're still there, but like we're at a good place. Like we respect them, they respect us, and we're all friends. It's fine.
There you go. Just don't get on the ghost bad side, and everything will be good.
Cannot believe y'all asked that question.
Yeah, I gotta give Newsome all the credit for those questions. So, anything you got to plug or promote, or wherever the people can find you, floor is
Oh yeah.
yours.
Okay. Buy local, Lowcountry local first. I want to plug them. So to keep places fun and weird and different and not just all homogenous the same. Lowcountry local first. Our company is the Charleston Mattress, and we're locally made mattresses right here in North Charleston. And my husband does bed shred, so that's shredding up any old mattresses you might have, turn them into carpet padding and shoe pad and that kind of stuff. Really exciting stuff, let me tell you. And then I'm trying to think. I just want to plug this podcast because Dan, I really feel like the person you were as 4-year-old Danny has so become the person you were meant to be. Like, and it's just great for the world to have access to that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That truly means a lot to me.
Well, it's the truth.
Yeah. So again, first friend, thank you so much for being a guest on here.
Well, you set the bar really high for friends forever. So
See,
thank you.
we're too late in the pod to start making me tear up.
All right.
And thank you for listening. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page. You can find me at Danny Foxworth 843, and you can find all the video versions of all the episodes for this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast at The Plate with Danny Foxworth. And for Liz and myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.